It's all your fault. This statement probably sounds terrible and not a good mindset to have because it'll leave you constantly upset with yourself or something like that. But I know this piece of advice is going to be probably one of the best pieces of advice I could give you. It will also help you go pro in Fortnite and also a very valuable lesson for your whole life. Now, an average person's mindset, you'll be somewhere in the middle. You kind of think some things are your fault and some things aren't. But then sometimes you let your emotional side of your brain overtake your logical thinking side of your brain and then end up thinking some things aren't your fault when they definitely are. Which just kind of makes you end up being more comfortable than you should be in your situation. And I think this kind of happens just because biologically you're alive and your body is comfortable with being alive. So there's not really much it needs to do to push itself to get into a better situation. So your brain kind of just plays tricks on itself to kind of make yourself think other things aren't your fault and you don't need to change stuff heavily just because that's going to use a lot of energy. So your brain obviously can't be bothered if it doesn't need to do that. But no, you need to realize that no matter the situation you're in, it's almost always going to be your fault. Every single action and decision you made before the point you are now all led up to the point you are now. You could literally be the best player in the world if you did everything perfectly correctly, right? But you didn't, so you are where you are now because of what you previously did. This seems incredibly simple and obvious, but I swear so many people fall into the mindset where they don't even think about that and they end up just not improving much of their life and situation. Now, after saying that, I know your brain is probably running through a bunch of different excuses and ideas of why it's probably not your fault, which is normal because like I said, your brain's just comfortable with being alive and healthy. It doesn't really need to do anything and waste energy. So it's normal for a human to do this, but you need to bypass that. And also, I don't know your guys' exact lives in full detail, so there might be something that you guys have an excuse that's actually valid, but I'm promising you 99.99% of the time your excuses are not valid. Almost every single one of you guys, if you did different things before the time you are now, you would be in a completely different place. And while even if you do have a valid excuse somehow, there is 0 point in even thinking about that, because what's that gonna do? It's literally just going to nerf and constrict yourself. If you're just oh yeah, I have a valid excuse, I'm just gonna keep comfortable and not do anything. What's that gonna do for you? You may as well just force yourself to think that you don't have any valid excuse and think that you're just being lazy, because that's the only mindset that's gonna keep you going. And I'm telling you, this mindset actually helped me so much as well. Before I started really grinding this YouTube thing about 5 months ago, I always thought YouTube isn't really kind of for me, or I don't know, it's just not for me, I'm not really good at it, just because I wasn't doing good. But then my mindset switched around and I thought, wow, have I uploaded every 3 days for the past 3 years and intensely focused on each video making it better and better? No. So obviously it's my fault that I'm not in a good position now. And what led on from changing that mindset for me was just okay, now I'm just going to upload every single 3 days for maybe years to come even, and just make sure every video is me trying to make it better and better. And there's no way in 3 years that I won't at least have improved my skills in video making drastically. Because right now, if I did everything correctly and I did upload every 3 days, intensely focusing for the past 3 years, I would be way more successful than I am now. So it was all my fault. And now, more of a micro thing, especially for Fortnite, you definitely see this as way more common of a thing, that people always blame or say it's not their fault that they died in a game, or just leave it to some really minor excuse. They'll die in a game and be oh, I missed some shots, or I couldn't really do anything there, there's just so many people chasing me or something like that.
Thank you so much.
Even if you died in the most ridiculous way, a crazy example, you died to a hacker, most people would be yep, there's no way that's my fault, I died to a hacker, that makes no sense. But even though that is kind of a valid excuse, come on, if you had the most optimal mindset possible, you'll be that's my fault, why couldn't I hide from him, why couldn't I do this, why couldn't I kill him earlier? Your mindset should just be basically, no matter what happens or what has happened to me, it's all your fault, and you could change something about that in the future. If you are watching this and listening to me right now, I never ever want to hear from you that it wasn't your fault. This really needs to be drilled into your head, because I swear I've said this multiple times and I've heard heaps of people say it, but people still keep saying the same thing, even though they've heard that before, and they just keep eventually saying it's not their fault. You need to get serious about this and fight the urges for comfort from your brain. It does take like quite a bit of energy to like get this mindset going, and like at the start you don't really kind of believe yourself that it is all your fault. But you need to find like a consistent goal and activity that you'll do that's like set in stone, that will like put you in a position in the future where you have the success and you don't have to say, oh, that was my fault that I didn't do good. Just like I did with uploading every 3 days. And like with Fortnite, you could do something like this. Like maybe every single day I'm going to do 1 hour of like super focused, realistic 1v1s with no distractions, no one in my call, just fully focusing like against a good player and trying super hard. And then like go into scrims and super focus on that. And then VOD review all my games and see why I died in every single game, no matter how I feel about them. And then the thing is with that, if you don't do that every day, and then in 3 years you're not good at the game, then wow, you know it's your fault. And then let me ask you guys this as well. Have you guys done that routine every single day for the past 3 years? No. That's why you're bad. And as a quick disclaimer, like obviously that routine might not be the most optimal thing, but it's just like a good example of what I mean.